Hi everyone, and welcome to Drawing What You See. In today's lesson, we're going to be reviewing the different types of shapes and forms that we can use to create a drawing. Specifically, we're going to talk about how the geometric shapes we've already learned about can be used and combined together to create more organic, curvy forms that are found in nature. Your drawing from today's session might look something like this. As far as materials, you'll need a tabletop workstation and 4 different types of organic objects that you can find around the house. A piece of fruit, a vegetable, or any type of potted plant that you have are all good options. If you don't have any of those available to you, you can also look up an image in a magazine or on your computer or phone. Another great way to collect objects like this is to go on a quick walk. Grab some leaves or a type of stick that interests you and come on back with some paper to your workstation. All right, so I have an apple, a lemon that I cut in half, a leaf, and a plant in a vase here that I've collected, and they're all laid out on my work surface. I'm going to start by drawing a vertical line and a horizontal line on my piece of paper to divide my page into 4. Now you don't have to worry if the lines aren't totally straight. We're just dividing our page into 4 so that we can do 4 different drawings. Okay? So now we're going to tackle these objects one at a time. You're going to choose one of your objects and write its name in one of the quarters of your paper. And if you have an object that is obviously more simple than another one, I would suggest starting with the really simple one. So I'm going to start with my apple. All right, and I'm just going to write apple in the top left corner. So I'm going to begin by outlining my apple's basic shape. Okay, really similar to what we did in our first video. So I pretty much see my apple as being a sphere or a circle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it down where I can see it. The top is tipped just a little bit toward me, and I'm going to outline or block in its basic shape. Okay? So the very most basic shape of my apple is a circle. The very most basic form is a sphere, like a globe. All right. Then I'm going to move to the next quarter of my paper and my next object. All right, we're going to bring each one of these drawings up to the same level each time. Okay, so now I've got my lemon, and I'm going to lean one cut edge against the other one, give it a little bit more complex form. So I'm going to go down to my next quarter, and I'm just going to write lemon so I can remember what I'm doing. So my lemon is cut in half, and I could pretty much describe it by drawing 2 elongated circles at an angle to one another, similar to what I did with my apple. But now I'm going to combine these oval shapes together. And I'm going to try and capture the angle that they sit at, right? And where one sits over top of the other, I'm just going to draw right through it as if my lemon is invisible, or see-through rather, so that I can see where all those edges line up. Okay? Very most basic shapes right now. Then I'll move on to the next quarter of my paper and my next object, all right? You're going to continue this process with your remaining objects. I'm going to keep drawing for just a minute so you can see where I'm headed. So now I'm on to my leaf, right? And as we did in our first video here with the library, what we could do is we could lay our object right down on our page to create the outline of our shape. And when you're first starting this, sometimes this can be helpful if you're confused about what shape you might be drawing, okay? So I'm just gonna outline this leaf with some straight lines and try to get those lines to contour, to go follow along with the outer shape of my leaf. And I want to make sure that my leaf can sit inside this form or this shape, okay? So I'm not going in between the leaves here right now. I'm just creating the very most simple form on the outside of my object, okay? And then I'll move on to my lily here in the vase. So this, you can see, is very, very detailed, and it's pretty intricate in the way the leaves sit, right? So I'm going to do a similar process or a similar thing to what I just did in this drawing here with my leaf, but I'm going to do it visually, okay? So I'm just going to allow myself to sketch in around the leaves, leaving enough room for the entire bottle here and all those leaves at the top. And again, you can sketch as if different parts of your object are invisible, and sometimes that can help you see where things overlap. Right now, just go with straight lines, okay? So I'm not even going to go in where my bottle is right now. I'm just going to leave that bottom part nice and wide, so I can make sure I block in the amount of space that I need for my entire object. Okay? So because drawing takes a lot of time, what I want you to do right now, if you're not caught up to this point where you have your primary shapes on your page, is I want you to pause the video, and I just want you to play a little bit of catch up, okay? But you don't have to go fast at all. Take as much time as you need to complete this exercise to get those very most primary shapes down on your page. So now that we've got our 4 basic shapes of each of our objects, our next step is to sketch lightly a more detailed outline of our form, okay? So I want you to take care to notice how the natural form of whatever shape you're choosing, I'm here going to go back to my apple, okay? And I want you to just notice how the natural shape, right, deviates or changes from that original outline, okay? So I'm going to hold my object just like this, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, okay, the top of my apple dips down just a little bit, and it comes up over that top ridge, and depending on the type of apple, if you're also drawing an apple, you might have a little bit of a different shape than me, okay? So I'm just going to follow around the outline of what I see. It's a little narrower at the bottom. It's got a little bit of a lump here, right? So I'm just going to draw that in. There we go. I'm going to leave this sticker out. I don't want the sticker in my drawing. And around the other side. And my apple happens to not be very symmetric at all. So it's a little lopsided here. So I'm just going to make note of that and make sure I don't draw it quite symmetrical. See how it's kind of leaning on one angle? And then I'm going to take a look at the angle of the stem here and go up outside of my original shape here. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw my stem on an angle. And what I could do is take my eraser, right, where my stem overlaps the back edge. I'll just take that out so that I know that the stem is in front of the back edge of my apple, okay? So again, I'm going to keep drawing for a minute, but this might take you a little bit longer than the pace of the video. So what you can do is you can watch me for a minute, and then I'm actually going to speed up the video in double time so you can get an idea of how I'm working. Once you've watched and you feel comfortable working on your own, go ahead and pause the video again, and you can take as much time as you need to complete the exercise. So you're going to make your way around your page, go through all 4 of your objects again, okay? Following the contour of the natural edges. So not the primary shape anymore, but the natural edges of your object. All right, so I'm going to move on to my lemon here. And again, I'm just going to follow those additional contours that I see. So now we're adding some of the little details in here, the edges where they overlap. cut edge of my lemon. I can kind of see the pith there a little bit. Yep, and again, my lemon isn't symmetric, right? It's a natural, organic object. So it's not going to be perfectly symmetrical. So you can kind of see me putting a little lump on there where I see one on my form. I'm going to come under here. My lemon some depth here. Okay. So now I'm going to start going in double time here, and make sure you continue to watch until you feel confident, and then go ahead and pause the video so that you can catch up with all of your forms and all of your details, and then we'll move ahead together. All right, so as you are watching, you might have noticed that I continue to draw things as if I could see right through them, right? And so now what I'm doing is I'm going back and taking out some of those lines because they're a little confusing, right? Where my plant crosses maybe my primary shape, I'm just going to take the primary shape out or lighten it up with my eraser. Where petals or leaves cross each other, I'm just going to take a little bit of time to go back in and make things clear for myself so that when I want to continue with my drawing, I can make sure that I know where everything is. I could darken some lines in. And another thing I just want you to make sure that you're always doing is that you're looking more than you're drawing, okay? So as I was drawing each one of these different compositions here, different drawings here, I was moving my eyes back and forth between my page really, really fast, okay? So I was making sure that I was looking at all the different edges, all the different curls of the lines, and the really nice sloping edges, and how each one of these edges interact with each other, okay? So that's one of the things that's going to be really important as you work, is to create that really nice sense of flow and make your drawing make sense, right? Creating this sense of unity here is going to be really important for you to keep looking at your subject and keep moving your eye back and forth so you can kind of take in the entire subject as you work. Okay? So, the last thing that we're going to do together today is block in a small still life using all four of our objects together. So what I'd like you to do is place your objects close together on the table in front of you. You can make a little arrangement, whatever seems good to you. You've already practiced drawing these, so as you build up your still life, don't be intimidated by the amount of detail. Okay, you've already practiced drawing each one of these on its own. Okay, so they should be pretty close together, so they're touching one another. Okay, so you can kind of see how my apple here, I've got it touching my my vase, and so on and so forth. Okay, our goal here is going to be to see the four objects as one larger object. Okay. So go ahead and grab a new sheet of paper. You can flip over to the back if you'd like. So as we mentioned earlier, blocking in is what we've been doing today, right? Blocking in the subject of our drawing is a way to see the overall shape and form of what we're drawing before we get too consumed in the minor details. So creating a block in as step one for each of your drawings will help you create drawings that are unified and that make sense, okay? So we're gonna start our block in by drawing our general outline, okay? The shape around the subject. Now, because we have multiple objects, it's likely that we'll not be able to draw a simple shape like a rectangle or a square. So you're gonna have to kind of go back to what we talked about when I started drawing my lily, right? I'm gonna keep working here and drawing for a minute so you can see where I'm headed, and then you can watch me in double time again to get an idea of how I'm working. Once you've watched and you feel comfortable working on your own, go ahead and pause the video, and you can take as much time as you need to complete your block in. So I'm going to start with my basic shapes, okay? And I'm going to try to see my entire still life as one shape. So it's basically as if we're overlaying those shapes that we worked on before, okay? Just put them right next to each other. So I'm going to start with the shape I feel most confident in, which is my apple. Okay, so there's my primary shape for my apple, and then I'm going to go in and add the primary shape for my lily, okay? And it's got a lot of spikes. So my shape is not going to be something that I could easily name. It's not going to be a rectangle or a trapezoid or a diamond. It's going to be kind of really funky and have a lot of different angles to it. And I'm just basically outlining with a shape where all the different parts of my drawing sit. Okay, so that's kind of weird looking, but there's my lily in its vase, okay, where all the leaves come out from my viewpoint. Now I'm gonna head on to my lemon. And one edge here kind of overlaps my apple, so they sit right next to each other. And this is why I wanted you to make sure that your objects were touching each other, okay? Because it's really important in seeing this overall shape. It's really important that they're nice and close together when you start. It makes it easier. Okay. There we go. So there's my lemon cut in half. And then I've got my leaf, right? And I want to kind of lay it out on the surface right underneath my lemon where I have it placed in my still life. All right, cool. So basically, that's your first step in your still life, okay? Blocking out those primary shapes and forms. And I'll be drawing in double time to kind of go back in and refine the outline so you can see the next step. All right, so once you've blocked in the outside shape or the outline of the objects, the second step is to refine the drawing, just like we did in our smaller drawings at the beginning of the lesson. So what you're going to do is you're going to start dividing these larger shapes and angles into smaller lines. And in this stage, you might start to notice that an object might be creating a shadow or casting a shadow on another one of your objects, really similar to what my apple here is doing to my lemon. And what I'll do then is I'll start to block in those hard lines of the shadow, and that's going to make my drawing look even more real. It's going to help these objects look really three-dimensional. Okay? So go ahead and do that now to the overall shape of your objects, okay? Start to add the details in, just like we did in our first 4 drawings here. And where the apple disappears behind the lemon, I'm going to leave that edge of the lemon in front. Then I'll go back in, I can kind of see down into my apple this time. So I'm going to create that hole, that cavity in my apple, okay? Add the stem on. All right, so I'm going to start drawing in double time here. And you can watch again as long as you need to feel confident, and then go ahead and catch up on your own page. You can pause the video. And go ahead and catch up on your own page, and then we'll meet back up again for our final step. All right, so now that we've added our details and our outlines, right, we can keep working this way and getting more and more specific. Your lines are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller to define the outlines and get all of the very tiniest details in your drawing. And you want to do this until you reach a point where you feel like the drawing looks like the objects that you've got on your table in front of you. So you can take as much time as you need to continue this exercise over the course of the week. And if you finish pretty quickly, or you finished within the time frame of the video that we've been doing together here, you can go back through and do another drawing using the same steps again. But what I'd like you to do is try a different set of objects. So if you tried some maybe fruits or a potted plant, a leaf or something like that, maybe you go back in and you decide to try some different action figures or toy cars that you have around, or maybe a stack of books or something like that, okay? And make sure that you go back through the steps, right? Blocking in your primary shapes and forms, doing the farthest outline around, right? The most basic shape that you've got. And then you can go back in and add those outer lines where all those beautiful details come in, okay? I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Happy sketching this week, and I'll see you next week for our next lesson.